Happy Friday, everyone. Let's get right into another recap here. So, this is how the NASDAQ looked on the day, and right around here was when the market opened up. So, the market actually opened up about near the top VWAP and ended up selling off, right? It ended up finding a hard rejection up there and ultimately sold off. It couldn't keep validating this EMA line here as a support anymore, right? It broke below it. It didn't keep uptrending above it like it did leading up to market open, right? Um, so it just broke below this blue EMA line here and it kept selling off aggressively, right? Look at those red candles. They're pretty decently sized and you don't really see any green in there much. So that means it was just really trying to sell off hard. And what I did today to approach the game plan was when I saw the market starting to sell off so aggressively, I decided it was best to basically hold off and try getting into TQQQ after it has sold off a bit, right? Because if it's selling off this aggressively, I feel like momentum is going with it a bit, and I just want to give it time to, kind of do its thing and have direction going its way. Because if the market is selling off pretty aggressively, you need to think of it how a lot of other people are also looking at it, right? And if anyone's invested in TQs, they're gonna be basically worried, right? Because the market is looking around here like it's gonna break this support, and if that ends up happening, if the Nasdaq keeps selling off, then obviously it's not gonna be a good sign for them, and that's why it's kind of a little scarier for them, right? It can cause some panic, is what I mean. So I just waited a bit, and the first two trades I took were red, but I only got in with a quarter of the position size I usually get in with, right? Like always. And on top of that, as you can see, I cut in pretty quick, right? Only for a few cents here and there. And yeah, so I did lose on those trades like a total of $10, I believe, starting off today. But if you guys will notice, my best trade ends up being right here at 7:01 in the morning, and I end up averaging into it. So at 7:01 in the morning, like I said, I waited for this to sell off, right? And after I got in a few times, it got burned a little bit after it kept wanting to sell off the market. At 7:01, right here's the time. That's when I saw the market have another nice support, another leg up, and it wanted to kind of cross this blue EMA line here. So that's when I decided to want to buy in again, right? Once I saw it no longer wanted to keep validating this blue EMA line here as a resistance, right? And keep getting rejected. But instead it finally broke above it again and it was showing healthy signs to want to go. So I bought in with a quarter and I end up averaging in another time at 7:08, right? And 7:08 is right around here. If you guys will see the timestamp like I just said. And I end up averaging up here because the market ended up selling off a bit. But then it found a leg up, right? It wanted to validate this higher low pattern and this kind of general support area right around here. So as it started to go, I averaged in when it wanted to basically break above these areas right here and look strong. And ultimately, it did end up getting rejected and kind of doing the same thing, right? But the reason why I was proud of myself today was because I had my last average up at 747, and that is not all the way until right around this area. So I basically ended up holding my position, and it ended up hitting highs of up to the SMA line right around here, and I never ended up selling it, right? I was only up like $40 because I was only in with around half. And yeah, I wasn't happy with that trade because I told myself I was gonna sell more if it approached near the top VWAP for new highs, and that didn't end up happening. And the Nasdaq ended up selling off all the way to lows down here, and I never ended up selling or anything like that or panicking because I've been taking my time averaging up, and on top of that I have just a realistic stop set for where it makes sense, and my stop would have been right around this general area. And the reason for that is because that's when I would have been fine thinking the market would have started to sell off, right? If it wanted to continue selling off and forming these lower highs and these lower lows, right? The low it has here, if it broke below here, it looks good to keep falling. So that's where I would have cut it. And ultimately, even though it sold off so aggressively, it never ended up breaking this low, right? It never formed a lower low, and because of that, it was able to find another leg up. and I ended up getting in another average in at 747, right? So I was only in with 3/4 the whole time. I never was in with the full 10,000. And 747 was right around here, right? After the market sold off a lot, I saw it had this nice pop, and I thought it looked good to try and validate the support area. So I averaged in again, and I ended up selling. Today I actually ended up getting a bit lucky because I sold, if you guys will notice, at 8:13. Look at the timestamp. It's literally, I sold, I think, at the exact highs. Once I saw it approaching this general area here again, because I was patient and averaged in another quarter down here for a pretty solid price. Once it pushed back up here to where it was like I had been before, I was now up like around 70 on the day, and I just decided to lock it in because there was a chance it could sell off again like it just did, right? Trying to validate this general area here now as a resistance. So I just didn't want to basically risk it, and once it pushed up here, that was good enough for me to want to cut it, and I did. I cut everything at the highs, and the market did end up selling off a lot, but did find its way back here just to test it one more time and really sell off, right? So I hope if you guys were in TQs, you guys locked it in around that area, and if you were in SQs, I hope, you guys were able to ride this whole thing down, because it could have been a nice size play. But yeah, pretty short recap once again. I barely had any filled orders, but yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning on in. Anytime you guys see the total down here, just to let you know, that's how much we were up on a day, but that's not how much I was up trading wise, obviously. I only traded TQs, if you'll notice here, so that's why on the thumbnail you'll see I'm only up this amount, because yeah, that's all I cover, my day trading. So thank you guys once again for tuning back in, and I'll see you guys all next week. Take care.